Wild West Chevrolet out in Yerington. This business we've asked to be a regular guest on our show because one of the areas in the automotive industry that needs the most reform is in the dealership segment. We want you to know, however, that there are dealerships that conduct business the way you would want a dealership to do that, with integrity, with ethics, and responsibility for you and your personal information. And here to talk about financing and insurance, the finance and insurance manager out at Wild West Chevrolet, Shelley Fowler. Shelley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here today.
We're talking about, respect and integrity of a business, and part of the core fundamental values of Wild West Chevrolet is treating people properly. We've had several conversations about the fact that getting a price is as easy as picking up the phone and calling, and that you have a 60-second ambition to give that price without any hassles. And if a lot of our community goes into a car dealership here in Reno, they're going to find the full-day process or back and forth. But I want to talk a little bit today, if you don't mind, about the financing side of it, because this is a big deal. I think that most people don't really fully understand the financing side of an automobile and how important it is that if you're going to give your personal information to somebody to help you obtain financing, that it should be the right person, that they protect you. So let's talk about the two different ways that dealerships maybe handle financing, Shelley. One would be, we talked about it earlier, they just put you in the car, and the other one is they get it done up front. So describe the two different processes for our listeners.
Well, the two different ways that we can do it is one way, and a lot of dealerships do it this way. We don't do it this way here, though, is they just they run the person's credit. They have an idea of what their what the interest rate would be according to whatever rate sheet they're looking at from the bank. So they go ahead and they write it up based on, a guesstimate or an idea of what the rate will be and what the terms and conditions of the loan would be. And then they go ahead and roll the customer. The customer drives away in the car, and then at a later date, within that time, they have like 15 days, and within that time, if for whatever reason they cannot get it approved at the rate or the terms that they wrote it at, then they'll contact the customer and go through the process of either recontracting the customer or asking them for more money down, or whatever the case may be.
Or even potentially rescinding the contract. And that's basically a right that people may not be aware of, that a dealership has in the back of a contract when you sign it, is they have a rescission right if they can't place the loan in 15 days. We've actually had the Department of Motor Vehicles Compliance Enforcement on talk about that. And it's just one way of conducting business. And why do you think that most dealers, and really 99% of automotive dealers, and I appreciate the fact you said that Wild West Chevrolet does not practice that type of, does not conduct themselves that way. Why do you think that most of them choose to do it that way?
Because they don't want the customer to have second thoughts about purchasing the vehicle. They're there, they want them to sign it, get them out the door so that they're locked into it. We don't do business like that here. We believe that, if somebody's purchasing something, they should, want to purchase it. They shouldn't be pressured into it. It's just a tactic that's used in the car business.
And I think some of it, exactly. I think some of it is their fear is that they'll lose them if they go. So if we don't give them the car right now, they're going to go somewhere else. Well, if you're treating people properly, that's no longer a fear.
Right.
Because all they're going to do is come running back to you if you're treating them with, the proper level of considerations. And so the other option is, rather than just contract them and approximate the terms of the contract, and then go out and try to shop banks to see if they'll take that loan. The other way is to actually pre-submit them. And what does that look like for you? Like if somebody called up and said, Shelley, I'm interested in obtaining financing. I really want to get this done before I leave the dealership. Know that it's a done deal. What does that look like? How do they go about that?
Well, the way we do it is we get the credit app, a complete credit app from the customer after they've decided which vehicle that they would like. We work with whatever, if they're working with so much down, then we'll suit their needs and try and work the financing to work around their down. Sometimes even if we have to reduce the price of the vehicle to meet their needs, to help them get into the vehicle they're looking for, we do that at times. So at that point, what we do is we get the complete credit app. We have the structure. We then look at financing. We go with the best available financing based upon their credit. And we just start from the top to bottom. So basically, we would submit it to the lender that would give the lowest interest rate to them.
Okay.
And then if we get it denied, then we submit it to two more, and then at that point we would stop because that would be 3 inquiries on their credit, and inquiries can ding their credit.
Well, and thank you. I'm just so glad you said that. I mean, you start with one. You take your educated experience in the industry and you apply it to their particular financing needs, and you send it to a lender that you believe majority of the time is going to approve that individual. So basically, you've run your own inquiry to determine what their credit looks like, and then you send it to one bank. And probably what percentage of the time do you wind up having that be all you have to do?
Probably, I would say about 75% of the time.
Okay, so I want to describe the other way of doing it, if you will, which is in the industry, a term is used called shotgunning. And would you describe what that looks like and why dealers choose to use that method to obtain financing for a consumer?
Just submitting the application to several different lenders just to kind of shop it. If they've already had the contract signed by the customer without getting it pre-approved, and they would just shotgun it out to see who's going to meet as close as possible to whatever structure they've created.
Well, two things. One, that allows them to get their money back in the bank faster to buy more cars, and that would be one of their motivations to it. But it's so disrespectful to the consumer's credit. I think that it's a conversation we really haven't had on our show, that inquiries are an attempt to acquire debt. And if you have too many of them, the credit score companies will temporarily lower your credit score to try to hold you back from acquiring too much debt in a short period of time, because they're not sure for months how many of those loans you actually took. Every inquiry looks like you tried to acquire something. And so they want to make sure that you don't overextend yourself. So the way they counter that is to lower a score. So it can injure somebody's credit score by shotgunning. And again, it's just an attempt to cash their contract faster. Had they pre-approved it, there's no problem cashing the contract. Like you do it, you have it pre-approved. They sign the contract, you submit it to the bank, you have your money the same or next day.
Correct.
So you're respecting the consumer's credit the way you're handling it and their credit score. And it's a big deal, and I hope our community is really listening to this. It's not a subject that we've had on the show before, and it's just the whole picture of how Wild West Chevrolet conducts themselves in the course of selling automobiles. And then also, I think when people re-sign or are called back to re-sign, it takes away some of the pleasure of their purchase, and you really want them to have the fun and the love for what they've purchased and not have those problems. That's
correct. And, we value our customers, and we want our customers to have a wonderful experience when they come here. So we make it as easy as possible, and we don't believe in having to have anyone come back for any reason. We like to do it correct the first time around.
Well, that's Wild West Chevrolet in Yerington, and Shelley Fowler, their finance and insurance manager. Thanks so much for taking your time to be with us today. And you said earlier, real quick before we go, that there were some attractive programs out there right now as well.
Yes. We've got some really low finance rates on approved credit, and some great rebates, and Chevy's running some great financing rates also. If anyone's interested, they can give me a call, and I can...
And how do they get a hold of you?
At 775-463-3456.
Once again, that's Shelley Fowler at Wild West Chevrolet in Yerington. You do have a choice, and it is in Yerington. Thanks again for being with us. Have a great day.